Oh, what's good? My name is Axotol, and today, my friends, we're going to be taking a look at the Astrologer class. If I am correct with what I was thinking, this is a... yes, I believe this is a... It looks like a... Well, it's a magic-based class. I believe all the magic-based classes have a melee weapon with them. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, okay. So this is the astrologer. He looks like I'm not gonna say it because I don't know his name. Ezio. Don't kill me. First we need a name. It's Vistridge. Great name, if I don't say so myself. For the keepsake, pick up the golden seed. You get an extra heal. All the other ones are... Well, you can pick up all the other ones, but this is by far the best one, 100%. You can't go wrong with it. It is the best, so pick it up. Alright, so let's get into it. This character has magic focus if you want a wizard or a caster with intelligence-based spells, because there are faith-based and arcane-based spells. You definitely want to pick this guy up. So as with the other videos, we're going to be trying to kill this first boss. I doubt it will happen. We're also going to be going to the outpost. We're going to be, and then the church, and then the outpost, and then the cave. So what I recommend doing right off the bat is this one isn't bad. However, equip your staff in your left hand. This is how I normally play the game, at the very least. But equip your staff in your left hand. You can't go wrong with that. As well as you got the short sword, so when they get close, you can just R1. Or light attack. If it's in your right hand, that is what the game considers to be your primary hand. I'm not 100% about this game, but in the literally every other game that FromSoft has made, their main hand is usually the right hand, and you can still cast spells with your left hand without any hindrance. There you go. That's the words I'm looking for. So for the spells, we have Glintstone Pebble and we have Glintstone Arc. Glintstone Pebble is pretty good. This is just what it does. You can do that. You can also hold it down, but I'm not going to waste that much mana because we have the boss fight coming up. Glintstone Arc, you can do that. There is no alternate fire button, but I mean, you can just like rapidly press it and it'll keep throwing stuff out. But that one goes in an arc. It expands horizontally and it goes through enemies. So it's good for multiple enemies, right? Groups of enemies. But for this boss, I believe Glintstone Pebble will do more damage because it's single target. That's usually how these things work. For your shield, we have the basic parry, which isn't the good parry like the bandit. It's just the straight across the chest kind of parry. Ooh, don't fall off. For clothes or armor, if you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get hit hard. That's all I'll say. And then the weapon's the short sword. This is just something to have in case somebody gets close, which I always recommend having a melee weapon, because you will run out of mana during boss fights, I guarantee it. Unless you're crazy and just dump all of your flask into mana. But, oh well. So let's go do the boss. We got Glintstone Pebble active. We also have Kick, which is that is the weapon art for the short sword. It does a ton of stamina damage, which means it is good against shielded enemies. Thankfully, I can finally beat that camp without dying. Alright, so here's the boss. You can spam it. I don't recommend trying to kick this guy's shield. It's going to suck. I believe wood shields also have a good magic resist. So now that we're out of mana, we can't fix it, so there's no point in equipping it. Oh, jeez. Alright. And technically we didn't die. But, you know, we died. That guy does a lot of damage. I will say this, every single time we fight him, you can get a weapon and shield from him. You can only fight him one time per playthrough, and that is the only time you can fight him. The weapon and shield, on the other hand, I don't know if that is unique only to that specific fight, or if you can find it over anywhere else. So if you are a returning or a veteran, or if you're new to these Souls games, I recommend going down here and doing the tutorial area. Simply just for the gesture alone, which is up there, and that's where you come out. But there's a lot of things that are unique to this game, so I recommend giving that a shot. It's pretty quick, and the boss is a pushover. Yet somehow people die, but whatever, you know. They got 2 left thumbs, I get it. Alright, so we do have mana, we do have stuff here, but every time you go to one of these things, your health, mana, as well as your health and mana flasks also get fully refilled to the brink. If you picked up the golden seed, you can go down to the flask menu and then add a charge to your flask. I don't know the maximum amount of flasks you can have, but what I did have in Dark Souls 3 is for every 2 health flasks, I would have 1 mana flask. Why do we only have 3 of these? Did we not pick it up? Not enough golden seeds. Okay, well, I didn't pick it up like a dum-dum, so. Alright, this is the co-op stuff. Pick it up. If you have friends that can play the game, I recommend it. It's fun, as well as it makes bosses pretty easy, more or less. They do scale with the amount of people in your world, so keep that in mind. If you picked up the Stone Sword key, I don't recommend going down to that fog wall area and using it there right away, because that is a higher level area and it will make you cry. Alright, so this is our first grace in the overworld. Toxic NPC. You know, he'll make you feel miserable. If you're into that, then, you know, maybe you can smack talk him back. This enemy to the right side, the guy on the horse, I don't recommend fighting him, especially if this is your first time playing one of these games. He will kick your butt. He can and will one-shot you, and it is a pain in the butt to fight. However, if you want to get good at the game, he is the best enemy to get good with, because you will be forced to learn how this game works, how the combat works. Otherwise, you're just gonna sit there and die over and over and over again. He also drops a weapon, but it is a halberd and has a lot of strength and dexterity requirements. So this is the church. Talk to that guy down there, Mr. Santa Claus himself. He's got important things. If you're not going to get anything, I recommend getting the crafting kit from him. He is the only one that has it, I believe, and that is a very big part of this game. Very, very big part of this game. So right here is the smithing table. This is where you can upgrade your weapons and catalyst to +3. And by that, you can indeed level up your staffs, and it does do more spell damage. As you can see down in the sorcery scaling, as well as the intelligence scaling in the middle column. You can only do it to +3 here. After that, you would need to find a blacksmith. Alright, and on we go. So, make sure you pick up all the resources as well. What's the range on that? The range on that is pretty good, as well as does quite a bit of damage. So I do recommend using that. For little enemies, or if you can get a cheap backstab, I recommend doing that and saving your mana instead. Because your mana is very limited so far, and the spells you do don't do crazy amounts of damage either. So, if we two-hand it, I believe we can one-shot backstab these soldiers, which is always nice. Alright, so once you get here, don't start fighting this area yet. Instead, run off towards this gate castle place, because there is a site of grace there, and this specific one is where you get the NPC that lets you level up, as well as your horse. So, yay! Okay, we're also going to skip as much dialogue as I can get my hands on. Alright, so make sure you accept. If you refuse, I don't know what happens. I don't want to know what happens. But I have an idea, and it's gonna mess your game up, and you're gonna need to make a new character. So I guess I should go into the spells. So over here, you start off with 2 memory slots. Everybody does. And you can see on the right side for Glintstone Pebble, it has the FP cost used. That means it is 7 mana, and you cannot upgrade it. You can't change the way the projectile is used. Like some spells you can hold the button down and it'll do more damage but take longer to go off. Other spells you can hold the button down and it'll fire more projectiles. These two are very basic, however. And at the bottom of the column on the right side, it has the intelligence required to use the spell. And if you don't meet that requirement, you cannot use it at all. I guess towards the top side of that column as well, you have slots used. If that is the case, then that means that there are some spells that will use more than 1 slot. So, unlike Dark Souls, however, you cannot level up. You cannot level up your mind, and it will not give you more spell slots. Instead, you need to find those items out in the world, which will increase the amount you have access to. So now that we have our horse, do not equip him into these slots. It is not worth it. I'm telling you that now. Instead, the easier way to do it is to come over here. Use one of these pouches on the right side. Specifically one of these because they have bindings in the overworld. So if you hold down the interact key, it'll bring that menu up and then bam. Easy way to get your horse. Yes, he can indeed double jump. So, on that note, let's get into it. As a quick reminder, enemies can block your spells. As you can see, that did less damage. But you have a kick, which means you can mess his day up. Kick into a riposte, mind you. Alright, so over here in this caravan, there is the Greatsword. I don't recommend equipping this right away if you want to use this kind of an even more hybrid. This class is more focused to using only spells. The other classes are better off with hybrid, both magic and melee focused things. Bam, this does 142. Glintstone Arc does 104. So it does less damage, like I said, but it does go through enemies. People can block the damage from Glintstone Arc, though. Oh, that did 137. What? Yeah, see, they can block it. There you go. I don't know. Maybe they do the same damage. Who knows? You just have to figure that out, test it, you know. So over here is the flail. It's got some pretty high requirements. I don't recommend meeting those requirements right away, because you will be in a lot of pain, because your spells will deal no damage, as well as your weapons won't deal any damage either. So it takes 5 hits to kill a basic soldier, which is it's okay, honestly. Okay, so right here, on the other side of this pillar is the map. You can see the item right there, but instead we're gonna come over here and kill this guy. Oh, kick him. Whatever you do, don't let him use his horn, because he will alert every enemy and you will cry. Alright, so now we got the map. The map does indeed show specific areas. You'd have to find other maps, which is part of the game, you know. Here, take that. These spells do home, by the way, ever so slightly. Not every spell homes, but most of them home in. They also have a decent range. Most spells also have a... Most spells also have its own range. See how it homes in? Alright, so it looks like our friends are about to join us. We'll take them on. There's no reason not to. Oh, here we are. We got multiple people. Bam. So it can miss because the verticality is pretty limited. But it does have pretty long range. Yikes. Yeah, the homing on this spell isn't that good. So I guess I should say something about the magic itself. Oh, we got a great shield. That's pretty cool. Magic in the other Souls games are... I consider them to be easy mode, especially for the bosses. But in this game, it's very different because a lot of the bosses have a lot of ways of reaching you very fast. Or like the Tree Sentinel, the big boss by the church, the one riding on the horse. He can straight up reflect your spells back at you, which is not fun, I should say. Nope. Oh, and we are out of mana. But thankfully, Glintstone Pebble one-shots the dogs, so in the cave we won't have that big of an issue. So Longsword has a 5-hit combo. Oh no. I refuse. I refuse. Oh, hello there. You do have iframes if you're in the backstab animation, as you can see there. So you can indeed clutch a lot. Hey, we finally did it. Alright. So down here is the last main item that you need to look out for, and this is the Ash of War plus the Whetstone Knife. If you're planning on going a like hybrid based class, or even if you do have a melee offhand weapon that you don't plan on using a lot, these whetstones are very important because once you get because Ashes of War can come with certain scalings. Like there's a few that have intelligence-based scaling, and because you're already going to level intelligence, you can then level up. You can then apply an intelligence Ash of War on your weapon, as well as change the primary scaling to intelligence and deal magic damage as well. So by that I mean, bam, if we had a magic-based weapon, then we can, or a magic Ash of War, then we can equip it here. And then you have the option to equip the intelligence scaling. And as you can see, it doesn't change the letters, but you know, if you look down at the bottom, it goes from D and then D blue, and blue normally means that it's better. Unfortunately, it brings the... If you look towards the middle, you see the red 87 and then the blue 13. It brings the base damage down by quite a bit, and then the scalings don't go They don't counteract that, so there's no point in switching this specific weapon, but later on in the game, you would have physical magic split, and then your scaling for the magic damage would be very high because you'd have a lot of intelligence, or you would have a lot of faith with faith skillings, or a lot of arcane with arcane skillings, or strength and dex and other stuff. I will say though, if you plan on doing a hybrid build, and I can't stress this enough, make sure that the base requirements for strength and dexterity are low, so that way you don't have to invest a lot of points into those in order to wield the weapon, and then having all of that damage be non-existent, right? You don't want to use a giant hammer that has 40 plus strength, so then you would need 40 strength and then all of that intelligence behind it, because you're not using that strength, right? You're using intelligence. So keep an eye out for that. There are some weapons that scale better with intelligence than others. There are some weapons that will have intelligence scaling innately. So keep that in mind. I recommend looking it up. Maybe I'll make a guide on it with my base character. But I can and will say that it is slightly confusing at first. It's easy to understand when it's properly explained. And it is one of the most important aspects of the game. As you can see, we do a lot of damage to these guys. And then we can just rapid fire it off, and they can't do anything. Yup, you probably one-hit the dogs if you two-hand the weapon as well, so... Ah, no, we don't. Okay, well, that is unfortunate. Make sure you pick up all your crafting material. Trust me, you're gonna need it. Better pick it up now than later, you know? Pick it up now, have an excess, rather than look for it in the wild when you need it. Alright, and boss time. So we do have half of our mana, but that should be okay. So right out the gate, you can probably hit him from here. Yeah, this weapon, or this spell has quite a far range. But so does he. Alright, so from a near full mana bar, I think we're missing like, it looks like we're missing 3 mana. It's not exactly full, but it's there. We got 1, 2, 3. You see what I mean by, he's very aggressive. He does not let you walk away. 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's that. I should say that casting spells also consume stamina, so you need to watch out for that. As well as the bosses. A good time to cast your spell is when the boss is doing something that's very predictable. Like, yes, that combo is scary in melee range, but that also, because he can only move forward a set distance, that's when you can run away, outrange him, and then spam your spells safely. And then by the time he comes back, he's, you know, missing a bunch of health, or he's dead, like, you know, what we did earlier. So magic is very, it's a lot better and more fun to use in this game. And that, by magic, I mean sorceries and incantations as well. So, in terms of difficulty and my recommendations, if you want a magic class, this class is pretty good, I will say. A lot better than the other sorcery class, in my opinion. I regret going the other sorcery class. I should have gotten this one. The Pebble is very good for single target. The other one is very good for AoE, so he's very versatile there. He also has a shield, which doesn't have a lot of defense, but you can parry with it, which is very important as well, especially if you do have a melee weapon. He's very squishy, so keep that in mind. He doesn't start out with anything else apart from that, but the range itself lets you get very... It's very... I don't want to say it's easy mode, because that's putting it like kind of... It's not... It doesn't do it justice. But it is easier than doing a dexterity-based build, I will say. You don't have to know as many timings, dodge timings, and that kind of stuff. But you are limited in the amount of casts that you can do. So if you want magic, then I recommend this. This is definitely one of the easier classes, but you need to understand how everything works first. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble. But once you do understand how the magic works and how the spells work and equipping spells and unequipping spells, right? And how the scalings work. So if you come to the game with good knowledge, right? Even before you ever played the game, if you just come to the game, with good knowledge, then this class can be very friendly towards new people. But if you're going in blind, then you're going to have a rough time with a lot of stuff, and you're going to have to start looking stuff up anyway. It's a bit more complex in terms of what you have to prioritize. You have 3 bars to manage instead of 2 bars. Health, stamina, and magicka now, or mana. So this class is fine. I don't think he's hard. This class is actually pretty easy. The spells are very, very good. I'm like 20-ish hours in. I've killed quite a few bosses, and I still use the AoE spell that this guy starts off with. And it's not hard to get that spell, but it is nice to have, especially in some of these dungeons where there's a lot of grouped up enemies. So, in terms of good offhand weapons, I don't have any here on me, but anything going past 20, in terms of strength and dexterity, or faith, anything going past 20 in those, individually, I think you're starting to waste levels. You don't want, for the requirements, so this one is 16 strength and 10 dexterity, which is pretty good. This one is 10 strength and 18 dexterity, which is pretty steep for a caster, and I don't recommend it. The short sword is pretty good. It's 8 strength, 10 dexterity. It does good damage, and you can get intelligence scaling, and the intelligence scaling will be pretty decent as well. But there are other items in the game. A staple of the game is the Moonlight Greatsword, which is, I don't know if it's like pure magic damage, but it's got, I don't know what the base stats are, but it's going to have some strengths requirement, some dexterity requirement, and then a lot of intelligence requirements, and it has very good intelligence scaling. At the very least, that's how it was in the other games. I don't know about it in this game specifically, but I do know that the weapon itself is in this game. So make sure the requirements are low. Unless it's in intelligence itself, then it doesn't matter because you're leveling up intelligence. So that's all I have to say. There's a lot of knowledge behind this character that you need to know in order to play it effectively, but it is fun and it looks cool. It looks like magic looks cool. What can I say? I'm a sucker for magic. So, and on that note, my name's been Axotol. This has been the Astrologer Class. I don't think it says it anymore anywhere. Astronomer, Astrologer, I don't know. Make sure you drink some water, and I will be here when you tune in next time. Now go to sleep.